Hi, and welcome to ToolShop tutorial number 3, Settings. In this tutorial, I'll take you through some of the basic settings you'll want to customize, so ToolShop works the way you work. First, go to the Options menu and click Preferences. On the left, you'll see the headings you can use to move between the different settings tabs. General Settings. Let's start with General. At the top, you'll see your units. You can choose millimeters, centimeters, meters, inches, or feet. For this tutorial, we'll work in millimeters. But just to demonstrate what happens, I'm going to switch to inches and click Apply. Now I'll go back to the tool library we set up earlier, and I'll click on Router Tools. Notice the half-inch router bit. The tool size has updated to inches, so it now shows as 0.5 inch instead of 12.7 millimeters. Also notice the name hasn't changed, because that's a custom name you created. But all the other parameters are now being displayed in inches. All right, let's switch back to millimeters. Now a couple of other useful settings here. First, default gap for duplicates. If I set this to, say, 10 millimeters, then when I select an object and press Ctrl-D, ToolShop will create a duplicate offset by 10 millimeters. Next is nudge distance. If I set nudge distance to 1 millimeter and nudge rotation to 1 degree, I can manually adjust shapes using the keyboard. When I press the arrow keys, the selected object nudges by 1 millimeter in that direction. And if I hold Alt while pressing an arrow key, the object rotates by 1 degree. Now let's look at a few motion-related settings. Travel height is the safe height the tool lifts to when moving between cuts. I'll set that to 5 millimeters. Plunge height is the height we start plunging from. I'll set that to 1 millimeter. And then we have travel speed. I'm going to set this to 24 meters per minute. This travel speed is used when ToolShop calculates cut times. And it may also be output into the G-code file, depending on your post-processor. So it should represent the maximum travel capability of your machine. Most of the other settings on this page relate to mouse behavior or display preferences. So feel free to adjust those to suit your workflow. Import settings. Next, let's go to Import Settings. These settings control what happens when you import a DXF file from a CAD program. I strongly recommend enabling cleanup on import. This fixes common DXF problems like corners that don't quite join, duplicate lines, and curves made from lots of tiny segments. Next is Combine on import. This is also recommended. It helps ToolShop combine internal and external shapes on a single layer, so it can recognize what's a hole and what's an outside contour. Then we have Smart Group on import. This one is optional. If you import a drawing with multiple parts, ToolShop will try to identify each part and automatically group them for you. Next is Import DXF files as 2D only. 3D DXF files are rare, but if you ever import one, this forces the drawing to flatten into 2D, which is what we want for profile cutting. Next is Reposition DXF files. If you're importing multiple parts, this moves each part to the bottom left of the page, then stacks them vertically so they don't overlap. Now, the last tick box here is Ignore Layers. In most cases, you don't want this enabled. Using DXF layers is very helpful. For example, one layer for engraving text, and another layer for cutting profiles. But if you tick Ignore Layers, ToolShop forces everything on a layer 0, which is the DXF default layer. Next, check DXF file units. This matters because DXF files don't always contain unit information. So if your CAD drawings are in inches, set this to inches before importing. If you get this wrong, your parts will come in either much too large or much too small. The rest of the import settings are for more advanced features, and we can cover those in a later tutorial. Cleanup settings. Finally, let's go to Cleanup settings. These options control what happens whenever the cleanup function runs. That can occur automatically during import if cleanup on import is enabled, or you can run cleanup manually from the transform menu. Here are the key ones. Auto join tolerance helps connect corners that are close but not perfectly touching. Arc cleanup tolerance converts segmented curves into proper arcs. And text shape accuracy helps compensate for poor quality fonts. Just be careful. If these tolerances are set too high, ToolShop can modify the drawing in ways you don't want. Down here, you'll also see the checks for drawing errors section. If ToolShop finds overlaps, duplicates, or lines crossing within your tolerance, it will place markers on screen beside the problem areas. And that's the basics of the ToolShop settings. In the next tutorial, we'll keep building on this setup and move into more practical workflow features. Thanks for watching.